Hello, everybody. Mike Molina here. Well, what an eventful weekend. I was planning on doing part two of what the impact of a second Trump presidency will have on the market today, but it looks like I'm going to do part 1B because of all that happened with tariffs. So here we go on some unexpected and surprising turn of events. And the reason I'm covering this is because these things will impact the markets, obviously. And some of the information that's going on out there will create certain paradigms in people, our clients, our prospects, and even you yourselves. And I want to make sure that the correct information is getting out there so that, because there's a lot of panic right now, but I don't know the future and I can't be 100% certain, but objectively, as objective as anybody can be from a financial perspective, I think that things are going to turn out pretty good, and I'm going to give you my take on it and try to remain as neutral as I possibly can, and I look forward to hearing back from you. So let's jump into it. Okay, so first, some easy stuff, the economic calendar for this week. Not a whole lot going on. ADP payroll comes out tomorrow, and the unemployment comes out on Friday, but there's not a whole lot here that is market moving, so good news there. We don't have to hold our breath for any events. As we know, there was a lot of commotion in regards to Colombia and Mexico and Canada over the past several days. And on Monday, when the markets opened, they opened sharply down. Fortunately, this morning, they recovered after news that an agreement had been reached. And it looks like we will have smooth sailing for, who knows, another 24 hours, we hope. We shall see, right? Rates remain more or less unchanged since last week. I mean, we started off kind of low yesterday, but bounced right back up. So we're still at where we were last week, 6.875% for conventional 30-year fix, and government and jumbos in the low sixes. This is the mortgage rates as tracked by Freddie Mac. And I just bring this up because since hitting our peak 2 weeks ago, we are now in our third week of declining rates. So 1, 2, and we're in the third week. And if the trend holds, we should start to see some significant improvements and more importantly, cumulative improvements. So last week in part one, I talked about tariffs, and I talked about five companies, Chrysler, Stellantis, Samsung, LG, and John Deere. And actually, Chrysler and Stellantis are the same, so it's really all in one. And I made some assumptions that their decisions to move to bring their manufacturing back to the United States was because of Trump's tariffs. But I didn't actually look that up and confirm that. And a friend pointed that out to me. And so I felt bad about that because I'm trying very hard to remain neutral. So I wanted to represent those with the facts that I found, because I did research it and I wanted to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. And I do, again, love your feedback. So anything that you see that you think I can improve or do on, please don't hesitate to let me know. So let's review those. Okay, so John Deere. So this happened actually back in September, October of 2024. John Deere announced, so after Trump was then just on the campaign trail talking about tariffs and stuff, John Deere announced that they were going to cancel their plans to build plants in Mexico. Trump took credit for it, and then John Deere came out in an article on October 16th, 2024 in the Wall Street Journal saying that President-elect, is actually candidate Trump, threat of tariffs played no role in their decision not to build the Mexico plants. And you can find that article here. So that was a mistake on my part. The timing seemed to just lend itself to that conclusion. And you know what our grade school teachers told us? Never assume, because if you do, you'll make something bad of you and me. So next up, we have Chrysler Stellantis. So like I said, they made decisions about building trucks and opening a plant and other things. There were 3 decisions, but it's all the same company. So this one is, while there are 3 different actions, they fall under the umbrella of Stellantis. And according to an article in Automotive Dive, not Drive, but Dive, I had to double check that, that's not a typo, on January 23rd, 2025, Stellantis chairman John Elkman met with President Trump the week of January 20th, and to, quote, discuss the automaker's strong commitment to the U.S. auto industry. After the meeting, John Elkman sent a letter to all Stellantis employees announcing the move to manufacturing back in the U.S. and reopening the Illinois plant. So that one was due to using tariffs as negotiating tools. And then the last two are interesting, two Korean companies. I did not know that LG was a Korean company, but Samsung and LG are both Korean companies. And Samsung said it's moving dryers production from Mexico to Tennessee, and LG refrigerators from Mexico to South Carolina. So according to the Korean online newspaper Hanyang, okay, Samsung made the decision because of the quote-unquote tariff bomb announced by President Trump. And LG, which is their competitor, said, if we build a plant in the United States, we will not only be able to avoid tariffs, but also have the agility to supply products immediately when customers want them. And you can read this article for yourself there. So I've now appropriately sourced everything. So 2 out of 3, hopefully I'll do better in the future. If you have any questions, let me know. So I'm sure everybody's aware of all the commotion about all the interactions with Colombia and Mexico and Canada. And everybody's talking about a tariff war. We're going to get into that and why that's just really not, I think it's almost an impossibility. And I'm going to make my case and you can tell me what you think. Okay. But according to Kevin Hassel, and he's the director of the National Economic Council, it's not a tariff war that President Trump wants, but it's a war on drugs. It's a drug war. He phrased it poorly. This is how he phrased it, but we know what he means, right? Fentanyl has killed over 200,000 Americans since 2021, and this is something that the president campaigned on, and apparently he is intent on delivering on his promise. So just a quick review in case anybody doesn't know. And again, this is, I've said before, I really do not believe that President Trump wants to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico. He wants them to take action. And so, but he got into a fight with the Colombian president who wouldn't repatriate citizens that we deported. And Trump immediately lashed out with all these tariffs and other things. And the Colombian president immediately, rescinded and capitulated, which is what the point was. And then yesterday, on Monday, Trump met with both the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, and also Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And Mexicans have agreed to put 10,000 more troops on the Mexican-U.S. border to combat illegal immigration and to fight the flow of fentanyl. In return, the U.S. has promised to work to prevent high-powered weapons from being trafficked into Mexico. And I think that's a fair trade because that's a problem. And, while we always want what's best for our country, we should also want to do right by the other countries. So I'm glad that she said that, and I'm glad that we agreed to do that because I think that's only fair. Justin Trudeau is implementing a $1.3 billion border plan, which includes choppers, technology, 10,000 additional troops, improved coordination with the U.S. efforts, and he has appointed his own Canadian version of a fentanyl czar. So these are examples of the United States using tariffs as a means to get other countries to do things that are in the best safety and economic interest of the United States, which it can be win-win, but we do have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So I think that seems fair and balanced, and those are good results. Let's talk about financial concerns from tariffs, because this is the big thing, and this is the message that I want you as real estate agents to know and to get out to your prospects and clients, because I'm concerned that this sort of apprehension in the market is going to deter people from wanting to buy a house, and I want to dispel myths where I can. And feel free to contact me and debate me, because I would be happy to do that. That's how I learn. So I'm open to any and all feedback. So personally, I don't think that tariffs are a good economic policy, but I also don't believe that, despite what he says, that's actually how he intends to use them. I believe they are just negotiating tools for him. I believe he would impose them if he was pushed, but I just do not see, because Trump is a businessman, and I believe that he knows that it would be a net negative impact on the economy. I'm not a big fan of them unless we're using them for leverage or to protect certain industries like steel, like the automotive industry. Anything that we can produce in the United States should be tariffed so that we don't import it from other countries, because we want to bring the jobs here and make it cheaper here. There's a lot of talk out there that tariffs are inflationary, and that is just not accurate. That's said by people on the news that don't understand economics. So inflation is caused when the money supply is increased relative to the supply of available goods and services. Inflation raises the cost on everything all at once, okay? And in an in-kind amount. So that is what inflation is. Tariffs are imposed upon specific goods and services. And it's used strategically at times, which is the intention, to target specific goods and services, whether you're trying to keep certain products from being imported because we can do them here, or because you don't want those products here at all for some reason, or to use as leverage against other countries to get them to capitulate to certain demands. So tariffs are actually a tax. They're not inflationary. And as I said, used to target specific goods, which means, quite ironically, that under certain conditions, tariffs can actually be deflationary, because if only a certain number of goods are being tariffed or taxed, then people will buy less of those goods, which will reduce overall inflation in the economy. Now, I'm not saying that we should use tariffs as a means to reduce inflation. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that the irony is that when you get these news pundits that say tariffs are inflationary, they obviously don't know what they're talking about, because tariffs are tax and they only raise prices on certain specific goods, not on the entirety of goods and services in the country. Okay, so trade war concerns. So this is a little bit technical, but I think it's really important that everybody understands this, because you're going to get the calls. I'm getting them every day myself, and it's creating a lot of angst in our marketplace, and I want to dispel rumors. So I really don't see a trade war, and let me tell you why. So the total Canadian GDP is 2.2 trillion, and total trade between US and Canada is 850 billion. That means that trade with the United States is 39% of Canada's total economy. So 40% of their economy is reliant on trade with the United States. Exports from Canada to the United States is about $460 billion per year, which is 75% of their total exports. That is a huge share. So contrast that to the United States. The total United States GDP is 27 trillion, okay? Exports to Canada are about 400 billion, which is just 1.5% of the US GDP. Imports from Canada are 460 billion, as I said a second ago, which equals 1.7% of the United States GDP, which means that total trade between the United States and Canada is only 3.2% of the US gross domestic product. We can withstand a trade war should it come to that. Canada would be crippled into a recession or a depression almost immediately. And the Canadian government understands that, as does obviously our government, and that's why it's being used. And that's why they capitulated. And Mexico is even worse off, because their GDP is only 1.7 trillion, and their total trade with us is even less than Canada's. So it does sound maybe kind of mean and bullying, but you know, it is about illegal immigration, and it is about the drug. The drug trade has increased exponentially in the past 5 or 6 years, and it's been increasing exponentially since about 2014 or 15. And I can send you the reference if you want. But it's really gotten bad in recent years, and our allies, our neighbors, have not been pulling their share, in the opinion of the government, and I do happen to agree on that, to curtail that. And now they're going to be doing that. So I think that's win. And I think it's a win all the way around for all countries. But Chrystia Freeland, who is the former Deputy Prime Minister from Canada, had something to say about it. And I'm going to play you the clip, and then I'm going to talk to you about it.
The pretext offered is the flimsiest pretext possible. Less than 1%, in fact, around 0.2% of the fentanyl that comes into the U.S. comes through the Canadian border. If border security were the issue, this could be solved in 5 minutes.
So if you will allow me and indulge me, I'd like to offer just a little bit of perspective on the tiny less than 1% of fentanyl that's coming through from the Canadian border. So, of course, the fentanyl trade goes in both directions, but on Canada side, the first 10 months of 2024, they seized 10.8 pounds. And on the U.S. side, the U.S. Border Patrol intercepted 32.1 pounds. So that's a total of 42.9 pounds seized the first 10 months of 2024. Okay, this is from the BBC source here. You can see it for yourself. Now, according to the DEA, it takes about 2 milligrams of fentanyl to be lethal. Some people will be a little bit more, some people will be a little bit less, but on average, it's 2 milligrams of fentanyl to kill the average human. This is from the DEA's website. 1 pound equals 453,592.37 milligrams. No, that's not a typo. 1 pound equals 453,592 milligrams. Okay. That means if we divide this by 2, because it takes just 2 milligrams to kill a person on average, that 226,796 potential American deaths from just 1 pound. The first 10 months of 2024, they received 42.9 pounds. So that means that Chrystia Friedland's tiny less than 1% of fentanyl coming across the border, 42.9 pounds, has the potential to kill 9,729,548 Americans. Now, I don't know if you know anyone that's been affected by fentanyl deaths. I personally do not know anyone directly that has died from it, but I do have people very close to me that have had people that are close to them that have died from it. And I can tell you that they don't care what percentage is coming in from where. They don't want any coming in the country because their brother, their daughter, their husband, their son, their mother are dead. And it doesn't matter if it's 1%, 2%, 0.5%, 0.1%, or 0.001%. And I think that this is an issue that we as Americans can unite on. I don't see this as political at all, which is why I'm talking about it so strongly. And I think that anything that can be done to curtail this by anyone, regardless of who's in charge, by almost any means, is a win for all Americans. This woman is a mother. I know this. And I would like to ask her if it was her son or daughter that had been killed by a fentanyl overdose, if she would feel that less than 1% is an acceptable number. So I offer you that as perspective and hope that you will consider it. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you find value in anything that I do in these videos, please like the video, share the video with a colleague or a client or a friend or a family member or anyone that helps me grow my channel. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk with you soon.